In this episode, we're going to be adding the other git command for our API project. Now, this video is part of a series dedicated to developing C# applications on Linux. If you haven't already, check it out. This is episode number 16 of the series. There is a playlist for this entire series, so I encourage you to check that out. And if you want to help the channel and help sponsor more free content like this, you can go to imtimcorey.com and check out all the training I have to offer there. All that training helps fund more free content so that everyone can have a great education in C#, not just those who can afford it. Let's jump over to our Linux machine, and here we are in VS Code, and we've got our database pulled up. Here's actually where we left off in the last episode, and we're going to work on adding another git command. We have our git all. We did that a couple of videos ago, but we're going to add our git one command. And to do this, I'm just going to copy and paste. And I'm going to say slash ID int, like so, in curly braces. And then I'm going to pass in int ID. And this is going to be the specific ticket you're looking for. And so we're going to say, instead of get all, we're going to have the git. So that's the git store procedure. And if you remember, the parameters is looking for an ID, which is an int. So we can come back over here. We can minimize that. And we need to not just pass in an empty object here. We need to pass in that integer. So I pass in ID. Now, if you remember, let's pull this back up actually. Our parameters, notice the ID is lowercase. Now, the other ones, they're not. The other ones actually doesn't have parameters. This one does. Notice they're all uppercase, whereas this one is lowercase. And this works out nicely for me because I'm passing in just one value. And so that ID, I can just pass in just this ID parameter as also the value. So what happens is it's technically doing this. Okay, but we don't have to specify. Now, if I wanted to pass in a uppercase, I would have to specify this is the name of the parameter, this is the value. But since I am passing in the same name, I can just pass in just ID. All right, so let's try this now and make sure it works. Let's save it first, and let's come down here and run. Wait for it to launch. Okay, so we have our API service is running. We can open this up and let's go to Swagger. And now we have our git. Let's try it out. We're going to pass in an ID of 2 and hit execute. When we do, we get just the second ticket back. So we can see here, let's zoom in a bit. We have an error code, or I'm sorry, return code of 200 means success. And we have one value being returned. That is, actually we're returning an array. We don't want to return an array. So let's modify that. So we can, what we can do is return the first value. Now remember that the load SQL async returns back a list of ticket model. We can say first. Or we can say first default. First default, that way it's going to return back the default value, which is null, if it's not found. So let's try this again. We're going to hit save on this. I didn't use a hot reload. I just restarted it. So now it should return just one, not an array of elements, which makes more sense. You're expecting one back if you ask for an ID. So let's run this again. And again, we can go to Swagger. And we could actually make that launch automatically, but I haven't done that. We can though. Okay, so we're gonna pass in 2 and hit execute. We get 200 back, and we get just that object back, one object. Now let's do this again and pass in 4 and hit execute. We get a response body of null. Okay, now we could say, you know what? That's not expected behavior because we're saying it's a 200 code. We should probably say 404 instead. We can do that. where we can return a not found exception if we want to, something like that. But otherwise, we can just do this right here first, and that's going to throw an error. Now I closed the browser out, but I'll say first because that will throw an exception if it can't find it. So let's run this again. Wait for it to launch. This is why hot reload's awesome if you don't forget to close, if you don't close down the site because it's faster to go back to where you were. All right, back here. Always test out a working parameter first. So let's pass in 1 and we get back 1. Let's pass in now a non-working one, execute. And if we hit continue on our site, it should give us a 500 error, which isn't what we want. But that does give us an error at least saying, hey, an error has occurred while processing your ticket. I don't love that. I do want to process this as if it's a failure circumstance. So let's do this. Let's change this return. So we're going to cut it out for a minute, and we're going to say, let's say if tickets dot count is equals 0. So it should always return back a list. So that list can have 0 items in it. Else. Actually, you know what? We don't even need an else. Let's just return tickets dot first. Okay. So that takes care of our check. We're going to do this instead. We're going to return a different thing here inside of the if statement instead of returning first. Because if we check to make sure that there's not 0, then what we can actually, you know what? I still do like the idea of saying, so here's my thought process. I'm doing this on the fly. I'm not actually pre-doing this or anything like that. I'm doing this on the fly. I'm trying to think through the edge cases. You should always be thinking edge cases, not just the happy path, because I might not be able to test the edge cases as easily. But imagine for a minute that tickets wasn't a valid list for whatever reason. Well, this is going to throw an exception, and I don't love that. I don't love the idea of returning or adding another variable. I think I'm going to do that though. So var output equals tickets dot first or default, like so, and then if output is null, then we're going to do something here. Otherwise, we're going to return output. Okay, so that makes me feel a little better because it allows me to say, hey, you know what? Wait a minute. Let's go ahead and put this in a variable and then check for null. Because if anything happens where, for whatever reason, the list is null or whatever else, hopefully the error will be in the list and it's going to be caught and say null. I'm not sure it's going to catch a whole lot extra errors because if this list is null, then this won't work. And actually I could do this. That will solve another problem. If the ticket list comes back as null, I'm going to do a null check for it first and say, hey, if it's null, just put null into the output variable, which then again gets caught in this filter. Okay, so that I think takes care of the next problem in my list. So let's make a few changes here. What we're going to do, let's close that out, is we're going to specify the type of response. Right now we're saying return output, which is a ticket model object. But we don't have a way of saying, yeah, give me a ticket model object or give me a return of 404. So we need to change this. So what we're going to do is we're going to say after async, we're going to specify the return type. So that is going to be a task of type results. And let's close out these angle brackets because there's a lot of them. We're going to say OK. And the OK is going to return a ticket model. And then after the OK, we're also going to have the not found. Okay. And then we still need to have one, and I still have the wrong number of brackets. There we go. This is where the colored brackets really help. So this is the pink goes to the pink, and then we have the blue ends up with the blue, and then we have our ticket model has the yellow ones. So this is the return type. It's going to return a task because it's async. And so the actual return type is this. And it's going to be results, either OK or not found. So now, instead of saying output, we're going to say the typed results. If I spell it right. Typed results of type, not .OK. And then we pass in the parameter of output. And then here we can say typed results dot, and this is the not found. Not found. We can just say not found. That way we know we get a 404 message when we try and look up something that's missing. So let's come back to our run and we run this again. Wait for it to load. There we go. So our API service, let's go there. We go a Swagger. And then on our ID, again, we're going to run one, try it out. Run one that we know works. So there's 3. And that worked. We got a 200. Cool. Still works. Always make sure the things that you expect to work still do. Now we hit 4. And we run it, and we get a 200. Interesting. That's not what we're expecting here. We're expecting to see a 404 because we're right there. Nope, that's the possible responses. That's the actual server response is 200. That's incorrect. Let's find out why. Because we're returning if output is null, then we should be getting the typed we need to return that, not just say it. So let's make sure our hot reload's working. And now let's execute this again. And I don't think my hot reload worked, but that's okay. I can just stop it and start it again. Sometimes you have return types or other things that are modifying how the program actually works. It doesn't like to do a hot reload. Okay, Swagger and ticket ID. Let's pass in our working one. So again, that works, 200. Let's do our non-working one. And we get a 404. There we go. Error response status is 404, means we could not find that record. Okay, so just be careful. There's possible responses. These are the potential. Whoops, I don't want to do that. Stop it. These are potential responses down here. This is the actual server response right here. So therefore, we can see that the code is 404. But now the system knows these are our 2 options for what you might get back, which is helpful because you can know, oh, I need a test for a 404 because that's a potential return value. Okay, so that means now we can close this all out. Our code is complete for all of the gets. So let's do this. Let's put this on a separate line because it's how long this thing is. So there we go. Let's save that. I will include the source code down below in the description again if you want this. But all we did here was we added the one endpoint and then learned that we have to do this this results type response, actually this response, because of the fact that we want to return a 404 when we don't find a ticket when we look it up. Okay, so that's it for this video. In the next video, we'll look at creating new data or inserting data into our database using another endpoint, this one with the post verb. All right, thanks for watching. And as always, I am Tim Corey.